The Emerald Coast Classic heads to TCU. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Slasher U. I'm your host, Christian Rao, here with my co-host, Steve Feck, and we're going to break down TCU defeating the Iowa Hawkeyes 79-66 in the Emerald Coast Classic. Now, Steve, I know this one was a little tough one for you. You got Iowa as one of your potential Final Four teams in this one. They get their first loss of the season to TCU, 79-66. This was a tough loss for them.
It was, but I took solace in the fact that listening to Seth Greenberg throughout the weekend, he kept saying that the Big 12 is the best basketball conference in America. Again and again and again. For whatever reason, the Big 12 never seems to get respect, in any sport. But I think in basketball, it gets overlooked. This game was the perfect exclamation point to what Greenberg had been saying all weekend. Jamie Dixon, as he usually does, came up with a game plan that maximized his team's strengths and exploited the opponent's weaknesses. Iowa came into the game ranked and undefeated. TCU had 58 points in the paint. 58 points of the 79 Incredible. In the paint. Yeah. They out-rebounded Iowa 41-28. Now, that doesn't necessarily surprise me on the surface. It's the differential that really shocked me and concerned me. I mean, Eddie Lampkin, Jacoby Coles, even one of their guards, Micah Peavy, controlled the lane and the boards. So that has to be concerning for Iowa come Big Ten play, because Iowa cannot allow those aspects of the game to be taken away from them, really. They need to be able to at least be competitive on the boards so they can kick the ball out and take advantage of their, superior perimeter game. And one positive thing from this game, and there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, Jamie Dixon did a great job, getting his team ready for this game. But Aaron Ellis had the best game of his career, really, to date. And it looks like that he's emerging as their starting point guard. I think there was some question about how they were going to set that up. But over the last couple of games, I think that job is his for the taking if he keeps being consistent over the next, couple of games leading into Big Ten play. And that's important. Now, their backcourt committed 11 of the 15 turnovers. There was just no flow to the offensive attack from Iowa whatsoever. They struggled from three. They were 3 for 17. It was a big challenge for them. TCU has a terrific backcourt. PV, Mike Miles Jr. They're an ideal tandem for Jamie Dixon's system. And I think we're just seeing the best of PV coming out now too here for TCU. But again, tough loss. I still wore my Iowa my colors, because again, I'm probably one of the few that have come out and said I think they're a Final Four team, and I back that up by saying I think they're going to emerge through the Big Ten season, so that leading into the Big Ten tournament, that's when they're going to hit their peak. I'm not making excuses. Iowa did not play a good game, but TCU, the Horned Frogs, they're for real, and they added that exclamation point to Seth Greenberg's comments that the Big 12 is the best basketball conference in the country, and I agree. And it could be that way for men's and women's, to be honest.
I like the thing you brought up about Ulis there for guard play for Iowa. He shot fantastic, 7 for 8 from the field. Didn't really see him facilitate it too much, only 1 assist, but did get 15 points. But it looks like the ball is going to possibly go through him if he can continue scoring well. If you look at what Tony Perkins did, I mean, he obviously didn't look great getting the ball around as well, but he was 7 for 15. He didn't look too great in his, and obviously Chris Murray, we know that the ball's trying to get to him. He didn't look too good at all in this one. 4 for 14. Yes, he did have a double-double, 11 points, 10 rebounds, but when you're shooting that much and you're only getting 4 shots down, there's a big concern here. I think that honestly is my biggest concern. If you have a couple people that can play that guard spot with Ulis and Perkins and even you can, put in, Stanford if you really wanted to as well. Obviously, I know some of those forwards kind of bring the ball down and facilitate it as well. However, Murray is a big question mark for me so far. he's looked decent in some games, but there's some other games where he's really been what's the word I should be looking for, off the wall. He is just there's been some times where I've been really concerned with him. Now overall, he's pretty fantastic. He's averaging 19 points a game, almost averaging a double double with 9 rebounds, but the consistency is just not there. And I know he's not his brother, and that's obviously something that he's been compared to for probably the entire beginning of his season. And that's not something I'm trying to do here. But the ball is trying to get to him. They're trying to obviously make plays from him. That's why he's shooting 14 of the shots. But after you shoot almost 15 of the shots, you can't leave the court only having 11 points if you want to win the ball game.
Oh, absolutely. And you make a great point there, Christian, because I think he's trying to play like his brother rather than playing his own game. There are similarities in their games.
Sure.
I mean, with brothers, I think it's natural. You're playing against each other, even like in the driveway, you're playing against each other, or on on local teams. But I think he just has to start to feel comfortable in who he is and what his game is. I think he has pro prospects. I mean, I truly do. I think he could be, I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar, but I think he could have a nice career, in the pros or overseas. But, in order to do that, he's got to be himself. If he's trying to be a clone of his brother, it's not going to work. I don't think that the coaching staff is looking for him to be his brother, but I think maybe at times the players on the court, the returning players on the court, are hoping or trying to turn him into his brother. And so that's an interesting dynamic that I really hadn't thought about till you brought it up. But yeah, it's a great point. I mean, he has to be consistent. And he has been wildly inconsistent in the early going. And I really do think he's just forcing the issue a little bit too much. Maybe he can just take a couple of deep breaths. Their schedule doesn't give him a lot of time for deep breaths, basically between, the Big Ten ACC challenge and some other nice non-conference games. But it's still early. But again, if you're a fan of the Big 12, you got to be really, really happy because there are some terrific performances by teams from the top to the bottom of the conference.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree. Yeah. So with Iowa, the ACC Big Ten Challenge is coming up for them on Tuesday night. Georgia Tech will come to town to take on Iowa. And then the beginning of December, they got to take on Duke in the Jimmy V Classic. And then before they start Big Ten play against Wisconsin, they have their foe, Iowa State, who is ranked and just knocked off UNC as the number one team in the country. So the next 4 or 5 games for this squad is something they have to really play good. This is a gut check time for their non-conference schedule before they get into Big Ten play in the midst of December. And then obviously at the beginning of the year, all need to be firing on all cylinders. I think they can get there. I think that we're kind of like pick pointing some of the flaws here. I don't think these are super flaws. I think these are things that just need to be adjusted, and I feel they'll be just fine doing that. Let us know in the comments what you think about this Iowa squad. Do you think they have the ability to make some noise in the Big Ten like Steve thinks? Steve thinks he's the Final Four. This is the Final Four team. What do you think about that one? And then TCU, obviously, they get the win in this one. What do you think about this Big 10 conference, Big 12 conference, I should say, in college basketball so far this season? Hit like and subscribe while you're down there. And as always, thank you for watching SlasherU.